Okay, welcome everyone to today's Dev Talk with Squid. Today we are going to be talking about Squid merge syntax, the merge API, and mustaches. So we talk various times in tutorials and community posts about Squid merges and mustaches and beards. we reference them subliminally in our demo videos. Today we're going to talk about what are mustaches, what is Squid merge syntax. So first step is, how do I know what is a mustache? What is a merge? What is a template? We're going to go over three important words that relate to this concept. The first one is mustaches. What is a mustache? To show you that off, we are going to, oops, not that page. We're going to go customize the page, and I'm going to kind of go through these in steps. First place that you will see mustaches, or one of the most common places you'll see it, is when you go to edit a Squid page. You'll see in the page title component, there's by default there's some text here. Usually it says name, but has these curly brackets. First of all, these curly brackets are what we call them mustaches. So whenever you see these curly brackets, that's a mustache. And usually, when we talk about mustaches and merge syntax, it's in the context of templates. So our other big word is a template. Let's break down this string right here and talk about the three parts. So when we say mustaches, we're usually talking about these little curly brackets. When we say merge, it is the brackets and whatever's inside of them. So that we'd call this little area right here a merge. We'd call this little area a merge. This part in between the space is not a merge. If we put name right here, this is not a merge. It's basically whenever is inside these little brackets, we call that a merge.
You're trying to pull data in from the data.
Yeah, well, I'll explain what's going on here with this. And we say that this whole thing right here, this whole string is a template. If you look over here at this subtitle area, this whole thing is a template. So the merges are the parts within brackets inside of templates. Template is the whole thing. So what do we do with templates? What's the big deal? Well, a template, normally we could just write some stuff here. If you just wanted to have a page and say, you could put in John Smith here and have this be for a contact. This is a contact detail page. And if we click save and look at this page, this would be great. But notice right now this page is saying contact John Amos. Well, if we go back here and we just change that, now it's not really very true, because this is not a page for John Smith, it's for contact John Amos. So the point of any merge syntax is to put in data that is relevant in a given context. And the template or merge syntax is basically a placeholder that is going to get populated with data relevant to the context. So here, we want to put in the name of the contact in context. So that's, happens in lots of other programming languages. Many of you developers will be used to this. In Visualforce, they have a merge syntax similar to this as well within our Salesforce world. In formula fields, it's slightly similar, but with Squid, merges are generally surrounded in these two curly brackets. So that would identify a Squid merge syntax. For our merge syntax, we use a common templating language known as mustache.js. So you'll see this in other web development areas. Lots of people use this syntax with the two brackets wrapping around a merge variable. Let's see. So Squid lets you use these templates all over the place, lots of different areas of Squid, in order to display data that's relevant to the area. So our main, a great example of that would be in the page title component. These two properties here, the title and subtitle, are both templates, as opposed to just being static text that cannot be populated with anything interesting. Now, you'll usually notice within Squid that you're working with a template, because it'll have these little bricks here next to it. You usually say this little pop-up text like, select a field to insert into this template. And what that means is we don't have to hard code this stuff in just by memory. Usually we can say, the template editor will let us pick merge data that is relevant to the context. So here, we have a model in context. We could do this on cases, we could do this on event, but we want to show fields from a contact record. So this is going to go to our contact model and show us all the merge fields we can stick in. We could show the contact's birth date, email, ethnicity, any of that stuff, because that data is in our model.
So that, just to reiterate, so that does actually limit by what's in the model?
It limits by what's in the model.
So you cannot select something that technically exists, but that's not in the model.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that if this data is not in your, if this field was not specifically in your model, then when the page loads, you may say, I may want to get the say the age field or the assistant's name field. But if that data is not in your model, there's no data there, so that merge will end up being blank, and there will be no data there. So you can write it. You could write this into your model all you want, or you could write this into your template all you want. But if there is not actually any data in the model to feed into that, it'll show up blank. So just as a basic example, let's put in the first name and then assistant name, and let's go back to our page. Now this should show first name and then nothing because we have no data for assistant name. If we were to go add assistant name to the model, if there was data, it would show it. So in general, templates get data handed to them, and then they then put it into the right places as you specify in your template. So Squid, again, we use that in the page title for the title and the subtitle, but really lots and lots of other places in Squid let you use templates. So what's an example of that? Let's see, actually tab labels let you use templates. So if you say right here, profile, what if you wanted to say something like, the contacts profile, or say, so for instance here, if we're going to our page, what if we wanted to say this, personal details about John, or personal details about Susan, whoever the contact is in context, we can do that with merge syntax. We can say personal info for, and then normally you're going to think personal info for John. Now here we're going to get into one more detail, because this is not actually going to work, because we need to know a model. And for tabs, there is no model in context. So we'll talk about some types of context a little more later, but I'm just going to show a quick example of this right here actually working. Model.contact.data.0.firstname. Looks a little long in the builder, but should be pretty simple here. Here you go, personal info for John. So we could do that for any of the tabs, kind of personalize that. You can use that for section header titles. You could use that for in field labels. Lots of different Squid areas support the use of this merge syntax.
Do you want to break down what that's actually, or explain what you just put in there?
I'm gonna explain this. I'm gonna explain this a little more detail a little later.
Sweet. Okay.
What's actually what all you can do with merge syntax. Various properties let you add merge syntax. For instance, custom labels for field. This could you could put merge variables into here. You notice the little bricks. But another big place that you can use merge syntax, or a common place you'll see it, is the template component. So the Squid template component is just ready and waiting to take merge data. So we drag a template into here, and you'll notice the first thing it asks us to do is to choose a model. So this model is providing the context for a row. Again, similar to the page title component. So here it's letting us pick merge data. So again, similarly, we can pick, we can say birth date. You put this here, birth date, do return, put email. We have that in our model. So these are all examples of using Squid merge template syntax. Templates can also be dragged into, or so even let you guys know, you can drag these into field editors or tables to provide actually the ability to add totally custom display stuff within a field editor or a table. So here, a common example for merge syntax would be mailing address, billing address, other address, shipping address, stuff like that. Here, let's show something you can do with templates within field editors. We're going to pick the various mailing address fields, and we're going to format them kind of as you would expect an address to show up. So we'll go through and go search for mailing. Should have these in our model. Okay. First thing we'll do, you usually want the street address. Put that, get that on its own line. We'll go to the next line and pick the city, the state. You'll notice this, with this merge field editor, it always dumps whatever you're picking wherever your cursor is. So that's pretty helpful. This is a really, I recommend using this blocks area here to insert merge variables. Number one, because you don't get the spelling wrong, which is essential. If you misspell it, it's not going to figure it out for you. And it also shows you only fields that are actually available. So you don't try to put in data that's not going to be there. So highly recommend using the little blocks. Okay, so there we go. We now have a 2-line address, street, city, state, zip code. Let's go see what that looks like in our page. Okay, so you notice over here in our template, it pulled in the birth date and the email. And then our mailing address here, we have 2 lines. And the city is comma separated from the state because we put a comma into our merge field. Now, another benefit of merge syntax within field editors, which is pretty cool, is Squid actually goes through, and for edit mode, it takes all of the little pieces, all of the merges within this template, so that's mailing street, city, state, postal code. And in edit mode, it presents those all as editable fields. So you can make these custom merge field editors for all different, whatever combinations of fields you want, and it just kind of does them in order. So this makes it really easy to edit data, but then present it in a formatted way that you'd like. So if we change this here, 150 Chestnut Street, Chestnut Road, Quebec. It's not in Ontario. So we could change this, and we can zip code 1Y6, do that. There you go, it's now showing up in our page. So that's kind of just a brief overview of some of the places you can use merge syntax. Some other places you'll notice it is in when you're picking related information. So for instance, the account ID, whenever you're dealing with reference fields, if you go to advanced lets you display the data on the related record that you want to see. So by default, if we go back to our page, you'll notice it's showing the name of Global Media. So the name of the related account. And if we pick here, if we say, Acme, let us do a drop down. We can pick Acme, Salesforce. We can pick the account. But what if we wanted to show some more distinguishing information? You notice we had two Acmes. It could be really helpful to maybe say which Acme, the one in which state, maybe which site. You might use different fields. So what we can do is we can go into our contact model, and we'll go find our account ID field. There we go. Now, if we go jump into the account fields, right now we're just selecting account name. Let's go back into account. But we're actually able to choose other fields as well. So if we want to display account site, we can pull that in. If we wanted to display the country, the billing country or something, we can pull that in. Let's just use site. So now, if we go back to our just go to field here, and we go to advanced, let's go to the display template and edit it. So you notice here, it immediately puts us into the account context. So that's what we're showing here. We'll show the account name, we'll do a little dash, and then we'll show the account site. So now we can distinguish between 2 accounts both named Acme by the site, or whatever field you think whatever other distinguishing field's helpful for you. So let's go click save. Also, just right here, we're going to notice, I'm going to make a little mention of the tokenize lookup search. This is going to be helpful. This is going to let us type in the account name and the site as separate words and search on them separately. So
you don't have to get it exactly.
You don't have to get exactly
character for character correct.
Otherwise, you do. So, okay, it looks like we don't have a site. Don't have a site for Global Media, but let's try to see Acme and see if we got any sites. Let's go put some sites on here. These accounts. We'll go find our Acmes. Okay, we got right there. We have. We'll put in the site field just so we can test this out and show how this is going. Field site. Okay, there we go. Put site into our table. Account name. Let's get rid of this link. Account site. All right. Jump back to our page. and we'll give these accounts a site. Oh, it looks like count site is not, does not have field level security availability. All right. Let's use owner ID. This might be helpful. Let's use another field. We'll use thought I had these fields. We'll go get the owner of the account and show that. Show the owner name. There we go. Okay. Now we're actually going into three levels, but you might have accounts owned by different people in your org. As your different salespeople might own different accounts, so this could be helpful. Let's go back to our display template, and I just went through and typed that in. You can do that, but let's go. Now down here we have the owner field, so let's put in the owner name. All right. Let's go back here. Okay. On our account page, go back to our contact page. There we go. All right, so you notice now it's showing Global Media, an account owned by Ben Hubbard. Search for Acme. Oh, it looks like our user Dinosaur Machine here has owns both of those accounts. So that's not terribly helpful. But we could search here actually by accounts owned by Dinosaur. It looks like he owns both of those. Let's search for ones owned by Ben. Okay, there we go. We have accounts owned by Ben. How about ones owned by Zach? Okay, looks like I own a lot. Change it to BlackRock. So there's again another use case for templates. Okay, so that's just a brief overview of use cases for templates within Squid. And we're going to get into some of the dynamics of Squid template syntax and how you can use them and what data is actually available from a merge context. So to do that, we're going to jump over into another page here where I have a kind of an editor for experimenting with Squid template syntax. So let's refresh this page. So what we basically did is this right here. We have an opportunity detail page. You notice if you scroll down here, there's an opportunity called Salesforce.com 2000 widgets. We've got related products, the unicorn, very expensive. We have related key people, activities, documents. So we have several models in this page. And we have related data. So what this template editor here is going to help us do is understand what is available through the Squid merge syntax. So the first thing that you can do, okay, really there's three types of Squid merge contexts. The first one is global. We're going to change back here to global. So the global merge context is what is available in any Squid template. This is data. The global merge context will let you access. You can use this anywhere that a merge is relevant. All of this data is accessible. The first thing you can access through global merges is URL parameters. You can do that through, so for instance, in this page right here, we have a record ID, the ID of an opportunity. We also have a page name parameter. Both of these, they have IDs here. The parameter name is page, parameter name is ID. We can get at that data within a Squid page through the param merge. Let's type that in here. Say param. This is basically helps us get access to the data, access a URL parameter. Notice this scalar or $sign. All of our global merge variables are accessed through this $sign. Then from there, it's basically uppercase for the first word, for first letter, and then the rest of it's lowercase. So scalar param dot. Let's get the ID. There you go. That merge runs, and we have the result of that is whatever's up here. We could do param dot page, and we get the name of our page. So let's see some other stuff you could do. So this is really helpful. The param.id is really helpful for doing buttons to redirect to different URLs. That's just really helpful just in conditions. Conditions you can use this, but just that's one that's available. Another merge variable is custom labels. Okay, so let me just go look at our just brief overview if people don't understand what custom labels are. Custom labels are essential for internationalizing your app, making it work well no matter what language the user is. So if you have multiple users in different languages within your org and you want text to display in that language, custom labels are essential. So for instance, right here, if I wanted, right now, notice all these tab names are just in English. Field labels are in English. If I wanted to make those internationalized so they display in French, if the user was French, you have to use custom labels. So that's one way to do it. But custom labels, you go over to create custom labels, and I just created one here, customer org called owner name. So if you go over here, in English, this says owner name. In Spanish, it says nombre de jefe. You can do that add a new translation for other languages as well. But to just demonstrate this right here, I'm going to switch over to my language being Spanish. The language Spanish. It's going to get a little scary here, but that's going to be useful. So going back to our page, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my resources tab, and you notice I added in, you have to request that a custom label gets added into your page in order to be able to use it. But this is one of the most common uses of merge syntax. I think we're most helpful. You have a little note about it right here in the custom labels description. This is the syntax for how to use a custom label in a template. So capitalization is important here. Whatever you use here, however you describe the label's name, that's how you have to use it throughout the rest of your page. So now going down into our field editor section here, if we wanted to put this label as our custom label over here, we would put scalar label.owner name. And that will then use our label, whatever we put in our page. So going back to our page. Okay, owner name. Let's see if I got that right. Looks like it's label.owner name, owner name. I am in English, right? In Spanish. Idioma español. Well, that was supposed to work. I'll have to figure out why that's not working. But that is a good use case. I'll go back to just talking about the merge syntax. If we have label.owner name.
You want to flip it back to English?
Yeah, I'll flip back to English. Idioma English. Okay. All right. So label.owner name will display, notice it's displaying the text of whatever I put into that custom label. There's some other ones you can get at that are on the page. Oh, I'm still in Spanish. It's kind of delayed. Save. So labels are available through global merge syntax. The next one that's really helpful when doing integrating with external apps such as Conga Composer, Conga Merge, Draw Loop, lots of apps that usually they'll be accessible through custom buttons in your standard Salesforce pages, is the API. This is referencing to the Salesforce API. This little merge here can be really helpful. So for instance, to get your session ID, this is a common one you need to use. Just do that, grab the session ID. You need to get the partner server URL or the enterprise server URL. This is what external apps use to log into Salesforce, or not to log in, but to actually interact with it. You can get these here. You can actually get one by server URL ID. So you say .7, .27. You can get a specific URL if you need to get a particular version. So that's there's stuff there. But now let's dig into the Squid, more the Squid specific variable. Probably the most powerful one is model dot. So scalar model dot lets you get into any model. So from here we could say scalar model dot opportunity, and we could get, if we have that opportunity on that model on our page, basically this right here should be the name of the model. So model.opportunity.label. We do that. That's the label of the corresponding S object. We do label plural. Okay, opportunities. We do key prefix 006. We can do Is this model accessible? Is it creatable? We can get at whole bunch of different information, everything that corresponds to the JavaScript representation of this model you can get at. So all the metadata about the model, as well as the model data. So through this model merge variable, you can get at both data for a model and metadata. So what are some other metadata that you might want to get at is actually field information. So if I wanted to get at, that's stored within fields map, the fields map variable. So you can say fields map dot name dot label. So opportunity label, the opportunity name fields label, accessible, creatable, all the metadata for that is all available through there. Say length, that's the maximum amount of number of characters that can be in a field. It's all accessible through there. Say amount, say stuff like precision, scale, that's how many decimal points going to be in that field. So all that kind of stuff is all accessible through opportunity.fieldsMap. Then you type in the name of the field and go from there. But what about data? So earlier I was showing in an example, I got John Amos's first name by going to opportunity.data. This takes you into the list of records in the opportunity model. So there's a whole bunch. There could be a whole bunch of data. There could be 100 rows. There could be one. You can get at a specific row by number by doing 0 indexed row number. So I say data.0. That gives me the first row, and then I can get a particular field on that by typing the field's name. So opportunity.data.0.name, .amount, close date. You can get at all that field information just like this. You get another number. There isn't a second row in this model, but let's switch over to another one. Opportunity roles data contact name. So we have, if you look over at our key people here, this keeps track of the this model is storing the opportunity contact roles, and I can go over opportunity roles data.1, get the contact and his name. So we go George Harrison, get number 0, get number 2. You can grab all that data. You get whatever other information, contact email. That's we're pulling that in here for, looks like Bilbo Baggins, so we can get that data. And there's more stuff we can do with this data, because you might. But I'm going to explain that first. Before I do that, I'm going to step back and go back to talking about so that what I just showed right there was all the global merge data you have access to at Squid. Yeah.
Real quick question. How did you make that whole thing show up on the Squid page? Is that a custom component?
That's a template component.
The gray box at the top there?
The gray box is a template component.
A very complex template component.
It's actually not too complex. I could show it, but this is templates are good for putting in HTML. So this is just put in a template here, and then I have just basically typed in HTML for my page, a text area, a select box, and then I have some JavaScript that's actually, I'll talk about that a little bit, how this is working. But going into the JavaScript stuff, going back to merge methods, the other method that the next merge method is model. So model will, when you move to model merge method, you have all of the same stuff you had before in the global context, plus you have a model, you have access to the model in context. So if I have, right here I've specified for the opportunity model, this lets you basically say, without the scalar, you get just the model in context. If I say model.label, because I had opportunity in context, it gives me just that model's label. If I switch to opportunity roles, line items, it just tells you, it gives you the label of whatever model is in context. Switch to label plural, you can get that. Go something else. Contacts, task history, what. So you get all the data, but plus you have a model in context. From here, you could actually get at all of the data in the model in context. And I'm going to explain some cool things you can do with that in a second. But just go to the next, the last one is row. So let's go back to our opportunity row here and go to the row method. Now, when you get down to the row context, you actually can, there's an assumed context of a particular row in this model. So at this point, if I started putting in just name, it would give me the name of the opportunity row. So I didn't have to go into the specific row. I'm just getting, I can type in the amount. This is what this is the method that's running on the page title component, for instance, which lets you type in. So this is what's running this part of the screen up here, Salesforce.com 2000 widgets. Any of that information I can get at through here, close date. You can get all that stuff. So those are the three basic methods you can use. So before I jump into some more, I'm gonna come back to this page because there's some cool stuff in here. But I'm gonna talk about some advanced syntaxes with merges that can be really helpful for you guys, for people who aren't JavaScript developers, just in basic use of Squid. Then I'm gonna come back and say a few more things about the Squid merge API that will be helpful for the rest of this. Rest of you guys who are hardcore developers and want to use merges in your JavaScript code or just a deeper understanding of it. But let's step back and talk about some other use cases of merges. Where can I use? What else can this mustache syntax do to help me in my your Squid page developments? Well, let's go to our contact. Where's our contact page? Let's go back to that. Let's go to our contact record. Okay, we're going to go back to our John Amos record here. And so you'll note the first one we showed back here was the ability to have display of the address. Let's think of another example. It's going to introduce a new concept, probably a new thing we haven't talked about yet, and that is conditional operators in Mustache. So to demonstrate the benefit of this, we're going to do is actually do in the context of the do not call field on the contact object. So I'm just going to make sure real quick this is frequently disabled. I'm just going to check. Okay, do not call. Set field level security. This should be active. Aha, not okay. It is visible. Good. All right. Usually not. Okay. So if you're in a call center and you're trying to run through your people, you call somebody and then they say, or they put in a request, say, I am on the do not call registry. Do not call me back. Leave me alone. That's a good compliance thing to have on your page. So we're going to go edit this page and add that field on here. But one thing you might want to have in your page is if that field is, if do not call is true, you might not want to even show the phone numbers on your page so people aren't tempted to call them. They might, it's a helpful way to just kind of prevent it from ever happening at all. So instead of showing our business phone, mobile phone right here, we're actually going to get rid of these. And we're going to put these in we're going to put in a template here. We'll call this phone numbers. And then for our template, what we're going to do is we're going to say, if do not call is true, we're going to hide the phone numbers and you will not be able to even see them or edit them. So to do that, let's make sure that we have, first thing we need to do is make sure that do not call is in our model. And so you go to contact fields, do not call. Oh yeah, we just did that. Okay, so do not call is in our model. Go back to our phone numbers. So let's pull in our do not call field first of all. Okay, so here we're going to introduce a new powerful operator called the section. This is the open section operator, the little pound sign. Now, whenever you have a section operator, this has to be paired with an end operator. So this opens a section. What this pound section operator does, it says, if the value of this field or merge variable is truthy, which means if it's 1, if it's true, or if it's not empty, then display additional content or display whatever in here. So we're we're going to do is we're going to put in the phone numbers. Or we're going to put in a little message here that says, okay, the user said, do not call. That's true. Hidden. Don't you dare call them. So that's what's going to show up if do not call is true. Now, if it's not true, the user is perfectly okay with us calling them, we're going to display something different. And to do this, we have the inverse section operator. This is this little pound sign here. Now, if you're like, holy cow, where do I find out where these syntaxes are? How do you know this? These are standard. These are actually, you can find this out by going to Google and doing a search for mustache.js. This will bring up probably this little article here, which kind of tells you about some of the syntaxes you can use. You scroll down here, there's probably a section on sections. There you go, section on sections. But this will kind of explain, kind of show you some of that. We're also going to be adding an article to our own help docs with this related to this dev talk about this, because I'll show you some more about that later. But okay, so if this field is false, then all right, let's show the phone numbers. So here we can put in our phone numbers: phone, business phone, and mobile phone. All right, there we go. Let's see what that does. Back to our contact page. Okay, so do not call. Right now it's false, so we're showing our phone numbers. Cool. Let's check this. Whoa. Okay. Now real time, Squid is evaluating when this field right here is changed. This template here is getting re-rendered. So it's now that do not call, it hides the phone numbers. Toggle back on. Toggle back on. Kind of cool. But it also is helpful in, it also, okay, well I was pointed out that the phone numbers on the left are not being hidden. That's because those are not in a template. That is different. This is a special table. Demo pieces. But that's the beauty of a demo org. Lots of stuff on it that shouldn't be there. Okay, so if we now go into edit mode here, we're able to edit our phone numbers both at one time. 618-298. Okay, done. Now if we go back to here and say turn on, if I go to edit this, I get nothing. I can't even edit these phone numbers. So kind of that's one interesting way to use conditionals to kind of show or hide information based on what's there. Another use case for conditional syntax is actually, I think a good example is buttons. So what if you had a kind of a toggle, you wanted to have a toggle button up here that if it was, if a certain property was present in the page, it would show one icon. If another property was present, it would show a different icon. With this syntax, you can actually do that with Mustache. You can have conditional operators inside of your icons in your page title. You could have a conditional operator here to display one icon, and if it wasn't, and at the other side display a different icon. That's another thing you can do. Another commonplace is in URLs. So for instance, if you want to have conditional logic in your URLs to sometimes send the user one place, sometimes to send them somewhere else, you can do that. Put the conditional logic right into your URLs. It's another good use case. There's some very powerful stuff there with conditional logic. We could implement conditional logic back here in our phone or in our mailing address template actually, to say something like, okay, if I don't have a city or a state, then I don't want to show this little comma hanging out in the middle of nowhere. I might want to have my template look a little different. So what you could say is, we could come back here and say if mailing state, let's just kind of keep it simpler. If mailing city is present, then we will display all of this stuff, or we'll display this little comma right here. Or if mailing state is present, we'll display this comma. And if it's not, we will not display it. Okay. And yeah, so that'll basically show or hide our little thing based on whether or not that's present. So let's check that out. Okay. So currently we have a state. So let's get rid of our state. Ontario, and all right, now it's not showing the comma anymore. If we go back and put in let's actually watch how this updates. It's real time. Ontario, now our comma's showing. If we just go back to O, it's still showing, but get rid of it, comma's gone. So some cool stuff there for formatting your page in real time. Okay, now another powerful operator that's really important to know with mustaches is that you can use a triple mustache. A triple mustache. So what does that look like? That basically means add another mustache on either side of your field. We call this triple mustaches. Now the difference is the triple mustache displays the raw data that gets fed into this field. So the difference, to kind of explain what the difference is, let's actually go with a different field here. So we have first name, let's display the last name, and then let's display the birth date. Okay, so the birth date, we're going to do triple mustache birth date right next to it to kind of show the difference. So normally a birth date, and the way it's stored in the database is just this consistent syntax. It's a raw value that is not localized into anybody's date format. Now, everybody across the world, there's all different date formats. Most of you probably know. There's lots of different date formats. Month, month, day, date, month, month. But the raw value is always the same in the Salesforce database. So the raw value is 1965-09-14. And for different developers out there, you might want to get at this raw value when doing some of your stuff that you're working on. So the triple mustache will give you the raw value and completely unformatted, just raw text. Double mustache runs all of Squid's rendering logic on this field. Now where that's kind of helpful is, you notice the difference. The field there, if I go change this, both of them get updated by Squid. Both of those get updated, but this one is really you'll notice how it turned yellow. It's got all the Squid rendering logic around it, so it's going to be kept in sync with the look of it and the user's locale format. This also applies to let's see, if you wanted to get the owner of the record, another common. So say let's show the owner. If I show the owner ID here and the raw owner ID, the raw one is going to show us the actual foreign key value. So it's going to show us 005 something. It's Ben Hubbard's user ID in this org. The owner ID regular is going to try to be really helpful and show you the name of that. We know you usually don't care about the foreign key field. We'll show you the actual name of the owner here. So that's what's going on right here. And it actually makes a link so that you can click over and go see the user record. But if you just want to get the raw data, use the triple mustache. So I think that's really helpful to know in lots of different syntaxes. Very important trick to have in your pocket when working with Squid. Okay. Now the other thing that I'm going to go back to kind of talking in more broad strokes about, to close out, I'm going to talk about the Squid merge API from within JavaScript. So this is documented in some good detail. If you go to the Squid JavaScript API, go to the squid.utils, there's a method here with lots of explanation called merge. So squid.utils.merge will run all of the logic you just saw in all of the different permutations can be run from this one method, squid.utils.merge. Utils.merge takes a mode, so one of the three modes I was talking about, global, model, and row, and it takes a template. And then the rest of it's all kind of optional. For a global merge, if you just want to display a custom label or something, you just need a mode and a template, which contains, the name of your label or whatever. If you want to do a model merge, you got to have a model. If you want a row merge, you got to have a model and a row. And then there's some options in here that they make kind of describe it in more detail. So here's some examples with all these different scenarios that you can kind of check out, and there's some little more detail there. But let's actually go experiment with some of that back in our page. So we're going to go back to that opportunity page we were looking at earlier. Opportunity, detail for merge demo. Okay. So what the template area I was showing earlier is basically just having some input fields that whenever they're changed, it runs this exact method. That's all it's doing, is it's running squid.utils.merge on whatever text you're handed. So proof is basically just a way to help experiment with that thing in a fast manner. So Salesforce.com. Let's go get our 2000 widgets one. Okay. Okay, so we'll go back here. Oh, looks like it didn't stick. Go. There we go. All right. We got our record here. So the first thing we were showing some stuff with the global merge earlier, but let's talk about the row merge. So row merge is basically what's happening in page title. I could do name or opportunity name, and I could do amount. Now let's kind of go into some more detail here. So amount, notice here right now it's showing 3 million. If I went into say close date, again here this is let's see. Okay, result Raj. Okay, notice how in these examples here, the this HTML area down here, it's displaying it as the database value. So like, okay, well, why isn't it displaying it with the pretty syntax, in my date format, in my local date format? The reason it's not doing that is because one of the options that you can pass to squid.utils.merge is create fields. What this does is it basically runs the Squid rendering logic on that piece of merge data, on all of them. So if I say create UI fields here, notice how that changes it, and now the data is the field renderer was run on it. Do that again with owner ID. So here it's actually running the renderer that shows Ben Hubbard. If I turn this off, now it's just running the raw data. So that's another important thing. What does register do? Register basically hooks up. So this creates what's in our API as the squid.ui.field object. You can go check that out in the squid.ui API. But if I go here and change the owner, so let's go change the owner to Zach. You'll notice this thing up here didn't get changed. Nope, it didn't sync with the rest of the page. That's because we don't have register turned on. This is basically we're saying I don't want this to be updated by anything on the page. I want it to be standalone. Once it gets run, it sits there. Nothing talks back and forth to it. If I turn this on, now you notice it actually got updated with the changes. And if I change this back to Ben, it'll get updated to Ben. So change this to John, it'll get updated. So now it's being synced. So that's the power of the register fields API method. You can see that. You go back here to our API docs, the options. Actually, it looks like we need to update our docs with those options. Okay. So let's talk about the last thing I want to talk about is the different is some of the advanced ways to use the conditional syntax. Actually, it doesn't just let you do conditional logic. It lets you operate on a list of records as well. So here I am in a row merge context. Let's go over to our opportunity roles context here, and let's switch to the model context. So here I have model.label plural should give me opportunity contact role. On my page, I have these 3 related people. So if I want to display those, what I can do is go to model.data. And right now this is an array, so it's not, or it shouldn't be iterating over them, but we'll do a section operator. We'll do an end operator here, and then we'll put in the name of the contact, contact.name. So now, notice what I did, for each record in model.data, it is iterating over. So that can be really helpful. You could actually start, build all kinds of crazy stuff with templates just using this. If you wanted to say make a table, you could make an HTML table. So go on table, end table. You could do a tr or do a t head right here and say name nth ntr tr, and then for each row in the model, you do tr td ntd ntr. Let's see, ntr ntd. Okay, so we've now actually made an HTML table in our page. Notice how it's kind of stacked nicely. We could do add another table cell right here, contact dot say email, and then up here we'll add another cell and say email. So basically, this is if you wrote this template, stuck that in a little string somewhere in your page, and then you use squid.utils.merge on this area and passed in the opportunity roles model as that parameter, this is what you get. You get this HTML table with all of your merge data populated with related information. So that's all we're going to go for. Jump into today. Thanks for joining us. If you guys have any questions, if anybody has any questions or data, let us know. Ask your questions on the community, and
requests for future talks.
Requests for future talks as well. We're very happy to kind of talk about the things that are most interesting to you guys as well as to us here internally. So yeah, let us know what you think. Does anyone here have any questions before we wrap up?
How far can you take the HTML? Could you add styles directly within the HTML? Could you specify pixels and all that kind of stuff?
Yep. Good question. You can, if I wanted to say cell padding equals say 4 pixels. I don't remember if that works or not. Get some more padding right there. You do style equals background color red. Ooh, that's gonna be hideous. Light blue.
Like blob or
oh yeah, or
what is it, light smoke or something?
Or cyan. All those beautiful HTML colors. Yeah, you can take this as far as you want. I think a good use case here would be to separate the styles from your actual, use a class.
Exactly. Just give the table.
Yeah, give it a class.
Some identifying information.
You do NX table data.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
Very Skuid table.
We are now actually using some of the tables, the styles for our Skuid table. And there you go. You got some items. Got some. Very cool. I like that. Wow, that's pretty cool. So this is a good, real-time preview of your work. It's kind of cool. All right, any other questions before we sign off?
Yeah, can we get this gray box to appear on our pages?
the tester, template tester. Yeah, I think I was starting before this to try to make it into a component that we could put out on GitHub. You could put it in your org. Like it'd have a builder.
Like a test page.
Yeah, like a test page thing you can put in. One other thing here. I'll just throw in at this. The last thing is, what happens if there's no rows? So if there's no rows, actually this is kind of a cool example. So if I do a search here, and I'll search for something that's not search for Bilbo. Bilbo. Okay. I guess the model doesn't get it's inside here. That's interesting. Oh, it's not actually an editor. That's kind of weird. Let's rerun it. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So now if I rerun it, now it's just showing Bilbo. Let's do something there's none of that. Absolutely none of. Okay. Rerun it. Now our table's empty. You're like, oh, that's ugly. What if I don't want to show any of that unless there's actually, what if I want to show a custom footer if there's no data? Here again is another great use case for the close, the inverted section operator. Say no table data. Now, of course, we have to put this actually inside the table, but say t foot. I'll have to style that some, but
Doing the TR with the TD and
yeah, TR with the TD. Yeah, that's a better idea. TD. And then throw this guy in there. TD. All right, there we go. So no table data. So this will only show if there is no data. Now let's go back, push that out, make our template rerun. Now we do have data. It only shows if there is actually data. So you can take that to some pretty insane lengths. The important thing to note here with this, when you're iterating over something, is you then get that row as a context. So if, say, you were on one of these rows here, and one of these rows had some child data of its own, you could then iterate over that as well. So if there was you're on an account, and then the accounts had contacts, and the contacts had cases and stuff, you could keep sequentially iterating over all that stuff. Kind of do some pretty insane.
Well, why don't you take this opportunity to just build a tree component for us real quick?
I don't think I'll do that.
Yeah. You got 3 minutes.
Oh,
Go.
yeah. All right. Okay, and that we will end with that. Thanks everyone for joining.